folks, welcome back to my channel for my sophomore video. Uncle George here is going to walk you through a story that sounds fake, but it's absolutely real. The Great Recession. I know, right? Hot button topic. But bear with me because it was not the Great Recession you know of in September of 2008. That's just the corporate highlights. Real CNBC ad reels between reverse mortgage ads. It starts earlier and way out of context, with a boutique derivative shop called Liquid Capital, a company whose entire brand was making debt sound like it was cool, like an artisanal product, like a buy now pay later scheme, if you will. They moved risk around like it was a shell game at a county fair, except the shells were credit default swaps and the P's were other people's retirement. And that's when the floor first gives out. The damage chain just doesn't take down investment banks, it sets up the political mood board for 2008. You got Wall Street villains, Main Street suffering, and of course, Obama as the fresh-faced antidote for that season. But the Obama of 2008 wasn't the postage stamp Obama or the Netflix producer as we know it now. His first term was a pas de deux with neoliberal realpolitik. Yeah, see, I'm fancy with the big words. Bailouts for the big guys, drone strikes for the little guys, and the slow, almost invisible way online political discourse got rewired. Somewhere between Yes We Can and the 2012 election cycle, the new lingua franca became identity politics and the early prototypes of what we now call woke culture. And this performance of ideology was optimized for clicks, hashtags, and eventually market segmentation. Meanwhile, entirely unrelated but cosmically entangled, Lotax, the grumpy owner of Something Awful forums, which also popularized the Let's Play format of content, banned foreign art from being posted on his forums. Petty? Yeah, but you did pay to keep the lights on. Well, this triggered a butterfly effect because it really pissed off a 15-year-old down bad little boy named Christopher Moot Poole, and what he did was he created, well, 4chan. And we all know how that turned out. And in a lot of ways, it became, without exaggeration, the seventh seal of internet history. From that sewer came Gamergate, and, well, look, it's very interesting, my opinions on Gamergate, because I really think both sides are chutting out over nothing, but I'm gonna stop there before Redditors get on my ass. We get the culture wars, and, well, through some horrific Rube Goldberg machine of outrage, memes, and weaponized grievances, help give us the President Donald J. Trump. Flash forward to now, 4chan recently got leaked by Soyjack Party, and what do we see? A bunch of .gov emails. And last week, Les Wexner, yes, that Les Wexner, you know, the billionaire retail mogul and Jeffrey Epstein's single biggest client, bought the Obama's Martha's Vineyard mansion last week. Which is odd enough, but here's the part where the floor really drops out. Jeffrey Epstein, before all the private islands, before the headlines, was the president of Liquid Capital, the same Liquid Capital that helped grease the skids for the financial collapse that then put Obama as president in the first place and then, you know, kind of set the stage for the culture war. You know, it's a full circle. Meanwhile, halfway across the world, we've got drone strike footage of Russian conscripts turning into pink mist. Collateral damage from the bipartisan foreign policy Barry and Donnie have been feeding us. And here at home, you got your American dream. You got your gig economy hustles. We got your H-1B imports replacing the little man so they can't unionize and keep complaining. And the landlord who will let you stay and exist as long as you do the buy now, pay later Klarna installments brought to you by my sponsor. All of this is happening while your boss tracks your keystrokes like you're a fucking Sims character. And all I ask is, well, because it's the only question that really matters now is, when did we become the sane ones in the room?
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass, and I'm all out of bubblegum.
Do you think the film has still some relevant social commentary?
Oh, that's never ended. That's still with us. They Live is a documentary about what's going on now. Relevance, of course, yeah, it's still here. Here's my philosophy on it. I'll just tell you, I think Ronald Reagan.
And I don't mean that in a smug way or a post-ironic way. I mean that in the how the hell did we get here where we're more grounded than the media around us. We used to watch movies like Videodrome or Repo Man and say, wow, that's insane. And now we watch TikToks of AI-generated Thomas the Tank Engine porn and just kind of shrug because, well, I mean, we've kind of seen worse last week and the week before that. Sometimes we don't even know how old the urge to be a punk-ass contrarian is. I mean, look at my father, right? But that's a topic for a different time. Like, how deep in the bone that reflex goes, sneering at the consensus, mocking the mainstream, looking at a thing everyone seems to accept and saying, no, not with a think piece, but with a chainsaw. But here's the rub. There was a golden, disgusting, yet glorious sliver of time where that urge didn't just exist in forums or in indie band lyrics where then the singers turn out that they were dating 16-year-olds. I'm talking like it made it to cinema, like the big screen. 3 films of mine particularly from this era: They Live, Repo Man, and Videodrome. They didn't just reflect their times, they were honestly kind of based. In fact, I'd argue they were some of the most based movies because they radiated a kind of deranged energy that anticipated ours. They weren't ahead of their time in a utopian tech bro way. They were ahead of the time that gets you committed or elected or both, if I'm being real. The reason they couldn't make that today, it has nothing to do with wokeness or cancel culture or some Red Scare brain melt. I would know because I go in r/Red Scare pod, sort by new, and just leave snarky, mean comments everywhere I go. It's because those directors, Carpenter, Cox, and Cronenberg, made those movies in a very specific crack in the timeline. Like, people say it was Harambe or Robin Williams dying, but I say somewhere in the early 80s is when we saw that real split in the timeline. The late Cold War, the rise of neoliberalism, the collapse of counterculture into commercial culture, and they saw something most of us didn't. The real horror wasn't monsters or aliens or nukes. It was TV commercials and TV dinners and, well, you wanted to fit in, so you have to support the current thing, right? Let's break it down. It's 1981, 1989. The peak of the 80s, that era. America's in the middle of the Reagan years. Consumerism is basically religion. MTV is colonizing brains in 3-minute intervals. Every film is a high-concept cocaine fever dream with merch potential. And somehow, these 3 studio directors all managed to slip in real gym posts, real black pills into the studio's IVs. Let's start with John Carpenter. They Live came out in 1988, was shot in less than 8 weeks with a $3 million budget and a WWE superstar, Roddy Rod the Giga Chad Piper. Carpenter was pissed. Not at Piper, but everything else really. He was disgusted by Reaganomics, by the merger of media and state, by the Wall Street yuppie cult of the 80s, and because Big Trouble in Little China bombed, he said, fuck it. I'm gonna make my angry movie.
Mainly inspired by Ronald Reagan's conservative revolution. There was a great deal of obsession with greed and making a lot of money.
His words, he published it under a pseudonym, Frank Armitage. A nod to Lovecraft, but the real horror wasn't eldritch, it was economic. They Live is literally about the rich being aliens, parasites on our culture and our society. Repo Man, which came out in 1984, was a miracle of nihilistic luck. Alex Cox, a UCLA film grad and semi-professional anarchist who somehow convinced Universal to fund a film about a punk rock repo agent chasing a radioactive Chevy Malibu. Produced by Mike Nesmith from the Monkees. Yeah, those guys. The Monkees, you know. Also, the mom did invent Whiteout. Little fun fact for you at the bar trivia night. The script had no structure, no moral compass, just vibes. Glorious, rancid, punk vibes. And Videodrome? Cronenberg's deranged masterpiece was funded in part by the Canadian government. That's right, taxpayer money helped bring you chest vaginas and gun hands. Cronenberg was obsessed with Marshall McLuhan, media theory, softcore pornography, and the question of how technology doesn't reflect reality. it becomes reality. At the time, cable TV and VHS were the brand new frontier, and Cronenberg saw it not as innovation, but as infection. These directors weren't making genre films, they were creating philosophical warfare. Mimetic ideas that get passed on, if you will. Oh, right. Where were we? Yeah. Let's talk about aesthetic. You know, the fancy word Tumblr reviews. You know how modern sci-fi is clean, or has a tactical look with the redesigns? Everyone's wearing symmetrical athleisure, the walls are backlit. The future is like an evil MacBook with a P320, except because it has no legs, it just shoots yours instead. These films look like they were shot in expired film stock dipped in piss, and I mean that as a compliment. Like, they really don't make them how they used to. And They Live, Carpenter uses deliberately flat cinematography. You got these industrial grays, dull blues. It really feels that a crackhead just pissed on the street. In other words, it's just how LA has been for the last 40 years. When Piper puts on the glasses, the world doesn't transform, it just reveals. The billboards read obey. The cash says this is your god. No flashy VFX, just Helvetica and horror. And by the way, if you're wondering where that logo came from, it came from the movie. Repo Man is arguably worse though, in the best possible way. Alex Cox saturates Los Angeles in the sickly sodium vapor and bad attitudes. Everything is labeled generically. Beer, food, drugs. I mean, it's not really a joke though, it's like an artistic decision that got a little too close to home. He's showing you the death of culture via packaging, via how you become a consumer, and how life is just get excited for product, consume it, and then consume next product. And Videodrome? Well, Videodrome is just what happens when the TV mutates. Cronenberg didn't just shoot the film, he injected it with the static graininess of glitch and decay. The visuals deteriorate as the narrative does. Watching Videodrome in 2025 is like watching your own digital death foretold on a crisp Betamax tape. And on a side note, you know those analog horror series that take place in the 60s and they have like the worst VHS like effects on it? Yeah, like, it's a story for a different time, but what the hell, guys?
There ain't no countries anymore. No more good guys. They're running the whole show. They own everything, the whole goddamn planet. They can do whatever they want. What's wrong with having it good for a change? And they're gonna let us have it good if we just help them. They're gonna leave us alone, let us make some money. You can have a little taste of that good life too. Now I know you want it. Hell, everybody.
There is no structure, and that's the point. They Live is basically a parable about alien capitalism, punctuated by one of the longest and dumbest fight scenes in cinema history. And it's brilliant. Viper and Keith David just beating the ever-loving shit out of each other in a filthy alleyway for 6 minutes because one guy won't put on sunglasses. Well, let's just say if it was made today, it'd probably be oversharing vapes, but that's neither here nor there. It's hilarious, it's brutal, transcendent, and it's cold metaphor, kids. I got that thing the kids like to call a media literacy. Yeah. Repo Man doesn't even pretend. The plot meanders, things just kind of happen, and oh, a glowing car, aliens, scientists, punk gigs. Ah, fuck it, we ball, right? I mean, Otto eats shrimp and has a cosmic realization. It's a story stitched together with nihilism and duct tape, and that's the point. There is no moral, there is no conventional thesis, it's just the entropy. And Videodrome, oh man, that script reads like a suicide note from Marshall McLuhan. The deeper Max Wren goes into the Videodrome signal, the less real his reality becomes. His body starts changing, his perception collapses. By the end, he literally merges with the TV. It's not a story arc, it's a death spiral. I mean, modern scripts, they go Act 1, set up Act 2, conflict, Act 3, resolution. These go Act 1, premonition, Act 2, infection, and Act 3, you are no longer human. These films couldn't be made today, not because they're too edgy, but because they're too inconvenient. They ask questions, no merchandise, no fandom, no cinematic universe, there's no post-credit scenes where you get Glup shittoed in a crossover with Harry Potter. There's none of that. And there's no key jangling, no cameos on Disney Plus from aging Gen Xers that just came for an extra paycheck after the actors strike. None of that. No. It's unprofitable, it's not optimizable, it's contagious. And the system can't handle that anymore. I mean, the closest we got were movies like Parasite and Joker in 2019. And let's be real, I mean, the revolution, it's been commoditized. I mean, look at the rage bait industrial complex and look at streamers like Hassan. Like, if we do get anything like that, it's just a pressure release valve, and then people just move on. Everything now has to be a brand, a vibe, a lifestyle. It's just an aesthetic. Even rebellion is curated. We wear shirts that say obey and post it to Instagram or TikTok with the right filter with that brain rot music. Videodrome isn't coming, it's here. And actually, if you were born after the mid-90s, you're probably more like Neo in the Matrix, except you're born into the Videodrome, not a thing where you could do kung fu with Hugo Weaving. And we built it. We honestly like it more than we want to admit. So here's the final call to action if you still believe in those. Watch these films. Share them, study them, gatekeep them a little bit. Just keep it out of most of film Twitter and Reddit, and then you and I, we could be cool with that. And don't do it just to be a performative male. Actually do it for the truth. Learn how a movie can hate you, can wake you up, can infect you with a punk-ass contrarianism the way Cronenberg infected Max Ren. With a transmission you didn't ask for, but you just can't turn away. Because if these films taught us anything, it's this. The signal lives, long live the flesh.
Long live the new flesh.
The sex and violence on the screen has gone too far for me. I'm fed up with it. Filmmakers like George Romero and John Carpenter have to show some restraint. They're simply...
Lightning.